Hey, this is KB. I was just asked to make a video on active defense, so here we go. So, what is an active defense? It's actively managing the defense of a building or your town. The things you want to keep in mind are what event are we in and how critical is it that we keep it? In Ava, where the troops come back to life at the end, hey, we could probably take some more risks with troops. But in SVS or County State Open, we may want to be much more cautious and think about what are the consequences of defending. And then this is true for everything. Who is attacking me? And what are they bringing to the table? How can we understand what we're being attacked with? Your strengths and weaknesses as the defense lead. So defense lead means your sheriff is in charge of that building, so hence you are. And then what's the troop composition, the skills and gear your sheriff has, and your heroes. So the number one thing to keep in mind in the entire game is this little algorithm, right? Range beats infantry, which beats cav, which beats range. That is the number one thing to think about, especially with defense, attack, etc. So if you know that you have an incoming range rally and you're heavily infantry, you may want to think about maybe we can't defend this or shift rapidly to cav to kill off that range attack. Okay, so how does planning defense start? It starts right after you take the building. Too many people wait until the rally's incoming or set on you to start thinking about how am I going to defend. So if your sheriff is in there and is taking the building, you are leading the defense. Most likely you just took it, so it's heavy in one troop type. Think about how you want to shift that, and you need to tell others. Dismiss troops, kick them out, tell others what to add. And people will just automatically start shoving stuff in. Your job is to tell them, I want to go heavy in whatever. Get to the posture that you want. A lot of times, what you want to do is think about, well, I'm going to show heavy grenadier and marksman. I'm going to show heavy marksman. I'm going to show heavy range defense. And then if they launch cavalry, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to kick all those out and I'm going to jam in a ton of grenadiers because most likely they're going to attack with cav. So start thinking about how you're going to defend that building and then know your own assets even before the game starts, which is what skins you have, defense boost, your best heroes for defending, sheriff gear, and skills, and we'll talk about those. So one of the big options to think about too is the damn abandon button. If you know that you're heavily infantry and there's not enough time to shift everything and they've got a range rally coming at you, sometimes the best thing to do is just abandon the building and save the troops for another day. Okay? So just get acquainted with that button because too many times people are telling you, screaming at you, abandon the building to save the troops' lives in there. Know where that button is, and only the person who's holding that building can actually hit that building. Everyone else has to either recall their troops manually. Okay, so what are the things you need to think about with Sheriff's gear and hero? It's about your gear, your defensive crystals, and the boost you have on your heroes and combinations. Now, what does that mean? So here, we'll go into my base and look at heroes or gear. So this is my gear setup. Why do I have this gear set up? Well, this is just my all-around defense. This is the best optimized defense that I've found for myself. Everyone's will be different. A schemer hat, raider boots, semi-automatic shotgun, and then a bunch of my tribal gear because this gear has not only range defense, but it has troop defense aspects too, versus some of the other options that I have. So think about those things. So schemer, I have cav attack and troop defense aspects in there. And so it's just the kind of defensive posture I wanted to go in with to defend a building and just a generic against a mixed attack. Now, and then think about what crystals you put in. So for my semi-automatic shotgun, I have trap attack crystal and defense crystals in, and we'll be putting in some life crystals too. But this then gives me a troop defense of 44%, trap attack at 39%, and then I have that set up in my sheriff settings as well too, defense setting. So what about heroes? Well, with heroes, what you want to do is heroes again have both offense and defense. In infantry, Jane is an attack hero because she has 2 attack settings versus in infantry, Joseph is a defense setting because he has 2 defense boosts. So he's going to give you a much bigger defense boost. How do you want to improve your defense? Look for your heroes that have the 2 defense boosts and boost those with insights. You get those insights from Bull Gang. Okay? So think about also then what is the combination of heroes. So you can shift your infantry gear or your sheriff's gear, but then what do you do with heroes? So what I've done is I've created a little mix that I have in one of my presets, where this is my best combination of heroes for all-around defense, and then I just have equal mix of troops, so I can just jam one thing on the preset, and it loads those troops and those heroes. Now, how do I know that's my best mix? Well, I went through and looked at my heroes, and I found it was easier to see it here to come up with my best maximum for range defense, infantry defense, and cav defense. Now, what about William? Yeah, he's great. He's 10% typically right now for me on infantry defense or just all-around defense, but he's not strong enough yet. I want to get him strong. I just can't afford it to make him add him to the lineup. So eventually, someday, I'll get him in there and probably take the place of one of these other guys who is not adding as much. So look through and figure out what your best mix of heroes is, and that's actually what I'll do. Is after I take a building, I'll look for the first opportunity to swap out my heroes into this mix of heroes, or if the building is empty, I'll actually attack with this range of heroes and my sheriff and this troop mix and take the building that way, and that way I'm already set up to defend it, and I don't have to swap it out anymore. Okay? All right, so that's a little bit about Sheriff Heroes and Sheriff Gear and Heroes. And everyone's solution is going to be different in this area because it's really based on the level of your heroes, what your focus is, and what your gear is. Okay? So, what are those situations where you're trying to defend? And that is thinking about, especially like SVS, defending the capital. And here are the arranged enemies who are trying to take this. And so communication is critical. If you're defending a building, it is your job to communicate and tell people how you plan on defending it. One caveat, sometimes some people are much better at offense and not as good as defense, so great. If you take the building and say, hey, I know I'm not as strong on defense, can so-and-so, and then make sure you have someone who's ready to defend the building, you might have to abandon it and have them retake it and then stack and load because if you're not great at defense or you don't want to be tied down to a building, then make sure you're communicating that and let people know, hey, I'm going to abandon the building in 10 minutes. Come get your troops. Okay, so communication is critical for everything, and you always have to have your sheriff in for defense. Taking your sheriff out and not telling people and saying, hey, I'm going to go attack all these other things, good luck, that is not good defense. Make sure you let people know, hey, if something happens, I'm going to come back and jam in my sheriff. Make sure you are able to do that. And then always think about defend or abandon on every attack. If you've got 3 rallies coming in at you, and probably one's going to be range, one's infantry, one's cav, that maybe you take the first one, abandon after that. Do something. Have a plan in mind about what you're going to do and let people know. Look at the rally leads and troops they are loading. So this is all part of active defense too. Ask people like, hey, you look and see what they're loading here, there, here, and get people to help out and look to see what are they loading so we have to defend against it and start thinking about how you're going to shift gears or shift troops and swap gear to best defend against these rallies. Okay, so to say, hey, we're heavy in marksman, we got an incoming cav rally, so we're going to shift this. I'm going to dismiss blah, 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 and whether you or somebody else, we need to load T4 cav. Or, hey, get rid of this T3 stuff, we're going to need to load T4 in. So type it out, communicate it. Now, when you get an incoming attack, it's in your patrol building. You'll see the little thing on the left-hand side of your screen show up with an exclamation point. It will tell you what the incoming attack is. Who is it coming from, their sheriff, their heroes, and the troop composition below. Okay. Now, if they're right next to you out in the open, you've got 12 seconds. So this might not help you a whole lot unless maybe you're a trap base and then you probably know all this already. You know what's coming in, you can recycle your troops, etc. But out in the woods and other places, or if it's a longer distance attack, you're going to have time to read what that incoming attack is, configure your sheriff, configure some of your defense settings, maybe even shift out some of your troops after they've committed to the attack. So make sure you're aware of how to look at that incoming attack information. Now, what are some of the examples? And these are some of the examples. Some may have been attack. I'm not 100% certain, but some of these others are defense, where I think this one here at Mermaid Cay, when we had the S-25 government, we were taking back-to-back rallies, and we were able to shift our defense. They came in on infantry twice, and then I set up a ranged defense twice, but there was like 30 seconds between waves, and so I was able to jam reinforcements back into the building to replace all the troops that died out of the first rally. So think about those things on waved attacks too. If they're hitting within 5 seconds of each other, that's really tough. But if they're hitting with any amount of time, 20, 30 seconds, remember, this is where speed boosts and other things come in, where you can just jam troops in to help replenish the defense in order to keep the building. The objective is to force them to lose more than what we're losing. Okay, and that was the main objective of this, frustrate the attacks. So if they load a bunch of ranged troops in to come attack you, push in a lot of cavalry. If they see that, they might cancel the attack. They're going to keep doing that. It's going to cost them more time, more gold, because they have to keep opening slots, etc. And this, again, is all part of active defense. Keep pushing off the attack, and if it does come in, extract as much as you can for them. Or if you don't think that you're going to have a chance of winning, then hit the damn abandoned building so these things aren't opposite, because we've had too many of those where we're losing 70 million and they're losing 14 million because they've got it exactly right, the opposite of what we're trying to defend. So they're coming in with infantry and we're defending with cavalry or something like that. So don't take the hit, abandon, get the troops out of there, and save them. Okay, so that is the objective of active defense. It is reading, communicating, and directing what the defense is. So you are actively managing the defense of the building or even your own town. Tell people, I'm going to take this rally. I'm going to camp my troops. Some things you can do is you can camp, like if it's an incoming range rally and you're heavily infantry, camp your infantry. Keep your cav and your range in town. Camp all the other infantry you can and do everything you can because they're going to feel the disproportionate effect of that rally. And so keep in mind who's attacking you and what they're set up in. A lot of times they'll show one thing and then they'll switch into their gear when they actually launch into their attack. Look at the troops that they're loading. Okay, look and see what do you think that they're going to do and start making some guesses. Know your strengths and weaknesses, your troop composition, and start thinking about those changes. And again, the number one thing is keep this in mind. This algorithm and the active defense starts taking place as soon as you occupy that building. Don't wait until the last minute to start coordinating defense. I've seen this too many times where people have a rally set on them, and then actually when the rally launches and they've got 30 seconds, they start dumping res, they start thinking about what they're going to do. That's too late. As soon as that rally is set on you, start thinking what you're going to do. Start asking for, hey, or telling people, I'm going to take this. I would like reinforcements of whatever. What is that guy loading? What do you think they're attacking with? And just start communicating. Okay, so take care. Hopefully you found these useful. If you have any questions, let me know. Cheers.